Good morning, Cache Valley. Oh, how I love your community. Is there a better way to start a Monday morning than with English scones? I love them, especially when I bake them, and I love stories from long ago. It was more than 50 years ago I had the chance to preview my life's career in and around Logan Canyon, Bear Lake, and Cub River. But my lot was not to live among you, but in Richfield in central Utah instead. It was there I met young Les Patterson, and we became friends for all his life. But I get ahead of myself because today I want to tell you about two stories of mentoring. The first happened long, long ago, around 300 AD. The second was just 45 years ago, which was the beginning of my own journey. This first story actually began at 270 AD when Nicholas of Myra was born in Patra to wealthy Greek parents who had long waited for a child. He was their miracle child. Nona and Theophilus could not have children for many, many years, and then in their old age they had a miracle son, who they named Nicholas. Nicholas means hero of the people in Greek. The bishop of the town of Myra was Nicholas's uncle. His uncle saw in him at an early age a sober boy who avoided worldly pursuits. His uncle advised his parents that Nicholas may be called to the service of God. Under the care and watchful eye of his uncle, Nicholas entered a nearby monastery and trained for the ministry. There he was known for keeping all-night vigils and sincere prayer. As time went on, his uncle took a pilgrimage to the Holy Land and left Nicholas in charge of the local congregation. Nicholas took this assignment very seriously, caring for the congregation as the bishop had. But while serving, both Nicholas's parents died from the plague that ran through the entire land. They left Nicholas a substantial inheritance. Pondering this sudden wealth, he turned to his own mentor, Jesus Christ, who said to the rich man, "Sell all you possess and give to the poor." He used his inheritance to assist the needy, the sick, and the suffering in and around Myra. Each night in disguise, Nicholas would secretly visit those who needed food, clothing, and money. Later, he became the bishop of this congregation. A story goes that a merchant in his church lost all he had and was threatened by his creditors, who threatened to take his 3 daughters for payment. This creditor's only hope was to find his daughters' husbands quickly, but without dowries, this would be unlikely. As each daughter approached their wedding, a mysterious bag of money would find its way into the merchant's home. First, on the doorstep. With the next daughter, it came down the chimney. And with the last daughter, it was tossed through an open window. That is when the merchant heard the money clink, ran out the door, and caught Nicholas finding out who he was. Embarrassed, Nicholas made the father promise not to divulge his identity. However, the father was so grateful he could not keep the secret long. All his life, Nicholas was known for his kindness and gift-giving. When he died on December 6th, his loss was greatly mourned, and eventually he was made a saint in many Christian churches, known as St. Nicholas. On December 6th, the feast of St. Nicholas, children in the city of Myra would leave their shoes out with treats for Nicholas's horse or donkey. The next morning, they would find gifts in their shoes for the good deeds they had done and the kindness they had performed, or sticks for those who needed to work on their behavior before Christmas came. In the Church of England, the Catholic Church, and Eastern Orthodox churches, Nicholas is remembered for his good deeds, with feasts and fun traditions for children. He had become the patron saint of all children. To prepare for St. Nicholas's arrival, Children clean up the rooms, put away their toys. They clean and polish a pair of shoes to place near their front door or on the windowsill or perhaps outside on the porch. Some leave a bit of hay or a carrot for Nicholas's donkey. If the children have been good, come morning, they'll find their shoes filled with small gifts and treats. But if they were naughty, they might find sticks, twigs, or switches in their shoes instead. More than 50 years ago, I came to love this legend and tradition when I lived in Germany for 2 years. There, St. Nicholas and his tough-dealing counterpart, Knecht Ruprecht, also known as Krampus in the South, would visit homes on the evening of December 5th to see if the children had been behaving well. He was revered, while Ruprecht was feared. Nicholas would always carry a little book where he would double-check the behavior of only well-behaved children who would find goodies in their shoes in the morning. And for those who needed to improve, Ruprecht would fill their shoes with sticks or willow switches to be used by the parents, literally whooping them and getting them back into shape. This interesting tradition allowed for the focus on Christmas to center on the Savior, who by tradition in these countries returns as a child to deliver the gifts St. Nicholas had promised to the children on Christmas Eve. Just as Nicholas had looked to Jesus as his mentor, I began to consider Nicholas my own mentor when on December 6th, our miracle baby arrived in 1979. As adoptive parents, we had waited 4 long years, and we named our miracle child Nicholas too. Each year since then, we've had St. Nick drop by our home on December 5th. Come morning, our children find their shoes stuffed with small toys and goodies, while my own shoes often had sticks and coal. In 2016, as the LDS Church launched its Light the World initiative, I began considering what I could do to serve children. As a neighbor loaned me a Santa suit, which set things in motion, I have been doing this ever since. Now that I have my own suit, and as always, I've offered my services without remuneration, visiting church groups, senior care centers, and classrooms. But guess what? Each time I visit one of these groups, I come away with a reward of my own. Let me close by telling you of 3 of my favorite incidents. First, Jonathan, a special needs adult, was elated to hear that he might get to see Santa that evening. He was so excited when he saw me. He was shaking all over. That's when I gave him my sleigh bells to jingle. He quickly relaxed and had a good visit with me. Next, I visited a senior care center. Many folks living there were suffering from memory loss, and I cannot tell you what a delight it was to rekindle their lost childhood memories with loved ones right alongside them. It was a time to treasure. And finally, I visited with an extended family who had warned me that their oldest grandson was autistic and had never been able to even approach a Santa. He did not believe. This kindled an idea in me. First, I had each of the grandparents come and stand next to me. I asked them to tell me their most remarkable good deeds of the year. And I allowed them to ask just for one thing they wanted most, which is a usual practice in our home. Santa only brings one gift. The rest come from their parents. So then I followed this with each of the grandparents and the parents of all 5 families there. Finally, when it was the autistic boy's turn, he excitedly reported his best deed to me up close, and then he pulled me in close to whisper what he wanted. I completed this same task with each of the grandchildren and then invited them to take off their shoes and put them under their grandparents' Christmas tree in the front room. Then I asked them to follow Grandma to the darkened dining room, where they were told to pretend to sleep until Grandma woke them up. Meanwhile, the adults packed their shoes with gifts and goodies. But when Grandma came back to wake them, the youngest was fast asleep, and while the autistic grandson explained that they all had met the real Santa, he was a believer. Folks, that is the kind of pay I receive while mentoring St. Nicholas to others. What will you do this season to light the world?